Chapter 21. Buying pots and pans, cooking for herself. And Rand glanced sideways at the two people and said softly, "If you're not buying Scram, you!" The two were choked with anger and made a move to strike and ran. The woman suddenly erupted in fury and yelled at the two, "Can you two calm down? Your elder brother is still lying in the infirmary. Are you trying to cause trouble for no reason?" The two young men were stunned, then immediately became enraged out of shame. "How are we causing trouble for no reason?" The blond young man said with a ferocious expression, "Are you taking my kindness for granted? How dare you speak to me like that?" The other young man chimed in, "If it weren't for the fact that you're big brother's woman, I would have long since smacked you." The woman turned her face away, stopped talking, and walked straight to the side, covering her face and sobbing. "Pa, ungrateful wretch." The blond young man cursed under his breath, dragging the other young man away. "Let's go. Let her take care of herself. When Big Brother dies, I'll show her what I'm going to do to her." The two stormed out of the exchange post. The woman wiped her eyes before walking over, saying to Anran with teary eyes, "I'm sorry, little sister. Could you sell me 2 gin of meat? My man always wanted to eat meat, but he never had the heart to buy it. Now that he's in this state, I want to fulfill his wish." "You may." And Ran wasn't unreasonable either. She pulled out her dagger, cut a piece from the fresh meat, and tossed it to the woman. "It's 2 gin, maybe a little more. Pay up." The woman thanked her, paid 240 points, and left with the meat. The exchange post staff member laughed. "Your level 3 mutated beast meat is worth more than 120 points per gin." And Rand blinked and said, "I know. After all, it's 3rd level low pollution meat. Eating it can quickly restore ability and even treat mental energy disorder. Its overall effectiveness is better than a primary mental strength recovery potion." She had learned all this in school, but she had only encountered it now. If she didn't still have a large piece of low-value level 3 mutated beast meat in her room, she would definitely keep these 2 pieces for herself. Keeping half a piece should be enough. The staff member smiled and shook his head, weighing the 2 pieces of mutant beast meat while saying, "The price I'm offering you is 280 points per gin. Are you satisfied?" And Rand nodded. "Fine. If the price you offer is too low, at most I just won't exchange through your window again." It was undeniable that staff members received a small commission when they acquired high-grade materials. That's why Anran used those words to threaten him. The staff member chuckled awkwardly. "It's definitely the highest price. If you don't believe me, you can ask others." Just as he was speaking, Little Lee walked in from outside, immediately saw Anran at another window, and came over to check. "Huh? You're here to sell mutant beast meat again?" Little Lee stared at the 2 large pieces of fresh meat, his expression complicated. "Yes, I didn't see you earlier," Anran said truthfully. She really hadn't seen Little Lee, which was why she exchanged at this window. Seeing that the two knew each other, the staff member immediately grew nervous and hurriedly said, "It's already weighed. A total of 77 gin and 7 liang. Should I transfer the points now?" Anran nodded and held out her wristwatch. The staff member fumbled around for a moment before successfully completing the transfer. 21,756 points were deposited into her account. Anran glanced at her account balance and asked the staff member, "Do you have rice and seasoning here? I want to buy some." The small cafeteria was too expensive. She really didn't want to spend money there unless absolutely necessary. Since she now had a beast hide bag, she might as well prepare some rice, flour, and tools to cook for herself. "Rice?" The staff member shook his head. "No, but we have some whole wheat flour, 100 points per gin. As for seasoning, we only have salt. They are all medium value, so feel free to use them." "All right, give me 10 gin of flour, 2 gin of salt, 2 alloy pots, 1 large and 1 small, suitable for stir-frying and cooking rice, and a kettle." Anran listed the items one by one. "Also, a stove, the kind that can cook meals and stir-fry, a spatula and a cleaver each, and a small gas canister. The staff member twitched his mouth, took out all the items, and placed them on the counter. Was this young girl getting married? Why else would she buy so many daily necessities? And Rand didn't know what the staff member was thinking. She bought a large pile of things and even borrowed a large wicker basket from him to hold them. The 20,000 plus points hadn't even warmed up before 5,000 were deducted in the blink of an eye. This was thanks to the staff member rounding down the change. And Rand put on the large wicker basket and had just walked out of the exchange post when she saw little Lee waiting for her in the shadows with a look of resentment. "What is it?" and Rand asked, confused. Little Lee glanced towards the exchange post and whispered, "Let's add each other as friends first." And Rand blinked and sized up Little Lee. His face was dark red, he wasn't tall, and he had a bulbous nose. He wasn't attractive at all, and Rand felt he wasn't worthy of her. So she flatly refused, saying, "Forget it, we're not a match." Little Lee looked bewildered and quickly added, I mean, let's add each other as friends first. If you need to exchange anything in the future, just message me directly, and I'll take the time to get it." He paused, then added, "I guarantee you won't lose out." And Rand suddenly understood, awkwardly rubbed her nose, immediately operated her wristwatch, and handed it to Little Lee. After the two added each other as friends, Little Lee left satisfied. Returning to her room on the 4th floor, and Rand checked the potion's cooling status and found that it was complete. She immediately picked up a bottle of recovery potion and drank it. Her spirit still only increased by 5 points. It seemed that primary potions were no longer very useful to her. And Rand sighed and ate another bowl of the previously boiled mutated rabbit meat, barely bringing her spirit back up to 8 points. She then began storing items. She opened the mouth of the beast hide bag and first reached in with her finger to feel around, but she felt nothing. However, the piece of meat in the bag was indeed inside, visible but untouchable. And Rand had no choice but to silently chant in her mind, "Take out." A prompt sounded in her mind again. "Do you wish to consume 1 point of spirit to retrieve a piece of level 2 mutated beast meat?" What? Retrieving it also consumes spirit? And Rand's face turned as black as the bottom of a pot. But this thing had to be taken out, otherwise she couldn't try putting the basket away. Because the bag's space was only 1 cubic meter in total. If she didn't utilize it reasonably, how much spirit would she waste? "Take it out then, you black-hearted thing." And Rand frustratingly tossed the bag aside and went to organize the items in the basket. After making some space, she stuffed the level 3 mutated bag beast meat inside. The level 2 mutated beast meat appeared out of thin air and plopped onto the bed. And Rand disdainfully moved it aside, then placed the mouth of the bag against the basket and silently chanted in her mind, "Put it in." The basket instantly vanished, including everything inside it. Huh? Why was there no prompt this time? And Rand was confused. After waiting for a moment, her spirit value hadn't decreased at all. This was strange, and Rand couldn't figure it out, but it was a good thing. She fiddled with the beast hide bag and put one eye close to peek inside. She saw a large wicker basket suspended inside the bag, seemingly separated from her by a great distance. The feeling was like checking surveillance footage of an item using a small-screen wristwatch. There was no sense of incongruity. And Rand thought for a moment, silently chanted, "Take out," and aimed the mouth of the bag toward the ground. The large wicker basket suddenly appeared, landing steadily on the ground, and none of the items inside were missing. Still no prompt, and her spirit were not consumed. What was going on? Did the system panel suddenly grow a conscience and stop requiring the consumption of spirit? But why did she feel like something was off? And Rand then aimed the mouth of the bag at her own backpack and silently chanted, "Store." The prompt sounded right on time. "Do you wish to consume 2 points of spirit to store 1 backpack?" Again? It seemed the bug was related to the items inside the basket. And Rand searched through the basket, and her gaze landed on the piece of level 3 mutated bag beast meat. Was her beast hide bag originally one entity with that piece of meat? Chapter 22. The correct use of the beast hide storage pouch. Ayn Rand thought for a moment, then took out her dagger and cut off a small piece of mutated kangaroo meat. Feeling the piece was too large, she recut it into finger-sized chunks. She then wrapped the meat cubes in paper and stuffed them into her backpack. She silently chanted, "Collect!" In an instant, the backpack disappeared. Her spirit were indeed not consumed. Ayn Rand suppressed her excitement and then chanted to retrieve it. The backpack reappeared. Ha ha! She had indeed found the bug for collecting items, but then she thought, what if the meat spoiled, stank, or was cooked? Would it still work? How about trying to cook some meat? If it really worked, then cooked meat would last longer than raw meat. She acted as soon as she thought of it. Ayn Rand took out the newly bought small gas can from her back basket, then pulled out a large pot, wiped it briefly, rinsed it with water, and began to cut meat and put it in. Of course, 40 jin of meat couldn't be cooked in one pot. It had to be divided into several portions. To shorten the process and save time, she divided the level 3 mutated kangaroo meat into 3 portions, cut it all into small cubes, and then boiled it with water and salt. While waiting for the meat to cook, she walked to the narrow window, turned off the solar light, pulled open the thick curtains, and peered out through the fine wire mesh screen. Outside it was pitch black, and from time to time the roars and howls of wild beasts could be heard. The sounds suggested they were tearing at each other, or perhaps fighting over food. Thankfully, they weren't attacking the camp walls. But flashes of fire occasionally burst from the walls, accompanied by sparse gunshots. That must be the mercenary group, guarding the camp and preventing mutant beasts from climbing the walls. Because some mutant beasts are skilled climbers, they could leap onto high walls if one wasn't careful. When she heard several loud roars, a sense of panic rose in Ayn Rand's heart. Those were the sounds of massive beasts, and they hadn't left. Luckily, they also hadn't attacked the camp. This was not a good thing. There were many mutant beast corpses piled outside the camp, and those giant beasts were definitely feeding. Thinking of a certain possibility, Ayn Rand felt a chill run down her spine. If they ate all the mutant beast corpses outside and still didn't leave, wouldn't the entire camp become their backup food storage? She had heard people say that high-level mutant beasts have a habit of claiming territory. Once they claim a spot, they will guard it fiercely until all the food within their territory is consumed. Ayn Rand's mood grew heavy. She pulled the blackout curtain shut and turned on the solar-powered light. She squatted beside the gas can, staring blankly at the wisps of white steam rising from the large pot. If it really came to that, she would definitely escape immediately. But outside it was all mutant beasts, and the camp was over 100 li from the base. Could she really return safely? Sigh, what a headache. Soon a large pot of meat cubes was cooked. She scooped it all out into a wash basin and continued cooking the meat. She pinched a small piece of cooked meat, put it into her backpack, then brought the beast hide bag open and close and silently chanted, "Collect!" The backpack vanished with a whoosh, and Rand chuckled, then put another piece of meat cube into her large back basket, aimed the beast hide bag at it, and said, "Collect!" The large back basket also disappeared, and Rand's eyes widened, a little incredulous. These 2 items combined were more than 1 cubic meter, right? Why could they both be stored inside? Her gaze shifted to the small wooden bed in the room. How about trying to collect a bed? Then a prompt sounded. Insufficient space capacity. Unable to collect. And Rand felt regret. However, on second thought, this small beast hide bag could simultaneously hold a large backpack and a large back basket, which was already a pleasant surprise. People shouldn't be too greedy, or they'll incur divine wrath. At worst, she would try to stuff things into her backpack or back basket as much as possible in the future. It will definitely work. Thinking that she could now travel light and no longer had to carry a heavy backpack back and forth every day, and Rand couldn't stop smiling. However, to conceal it from others, she still needed to buy a smaller backpack to carry. Otherwise, if someone discovered she could collect items out of thin air, it would be bad. And Ran happily grabbed a handful of cooked meat cubes, stuffed them into her mouth, and chewed slowly. The meat cooked this time tasted better than the previous mutated rabbit meat, probably because of the added salt. But compared to sister-in-law used braised pork, it was still far inferior. However, everything requires diligent learning and practice, and she believed that she would definitely be able to make delicious braised pork in the future. Thinking of braised pork, and Ran also thought of Sankey and the others. She wondered if the three of them had woken up yet. She would go check on them when it got light. After eating another half bowl of meat cubes, and Ran checked her panel. Her strength had indeed increased by 1 point, now at 21, and her spirit had slowly recovered to 12 points during this time. She estimated it would be full after she got some sleep. As soon as the last pot of meat was cooked, she would go to sleep quickly. So when Ran sat beside the gas stove, fighting off sleep while watching the pot, drowsily, until the meat was finally cooked. She turned off the gas can, pulled open the thick curtains to ventilate the room, then collapsed onto the bed and fell asleep in a second. She slept dreamlessly all night until someone violently pounded on her door, startling her awake. Bang, bang, bang. "Everyone out to exterminate the insects. Hurry!" someone shouted loudly outside. "Otherwise we'll break down the door." And Ran sprang from her bed with a jolt, stood stunned for a moment, then quickly went to open the door. "Coming, coming!" She saw several fully armed guards outside, roughly banging on doors one by one. And Ran scratched her messy, bird's nest-like short hair and showed her face first, to prevent these guys from really smashing her door. These were extraordinary times, without a door for cover. Her dwelling could be visited at any time. The guard glanced at her, didn't scold her again, and only instructed, "The insect plague outside is severe right now. Everyone hurry down. Follow the guard team's arrangements to exterminate insects by sections. No one is allowed to stand by idly." "No problem, I'll tidy up and be right out." A mighty dragon does not oppress a local snake, and Ran couldn't directly confront these guards, but she could feign compliance. She retreated into the room, closed the door, and tidied up her belongings, stuffing everything that could fit into her backpack, and likewise, her back basket was also packed to the brim. Finally, she only left her equipment, potions, weapons, and that piece of level 2 mutated beast meat. She hadn't cooked this item, it was still raw and couldn't be stored for long. So she sent a message to Little Lee. "I have a piece of level 2 mutated beast meat here, 30 gen, low value. Do you want it?" Little Lee replied instantly, "Yes, which building are you in? I'll come get it now." "Building number 7, 4th floor, room 59. Hurry up, I'm about to leave." After sending the message, Ran grabbed her kettle to fetch water, then went to the communal restroom to relieve herself and wash up. By the time she returned, Little Lee was already standing at the door of her single room, sweating profusely. "You're here." Ran greeted him and stepped forward to open the door. Little Lee nodded with a fawning smile, rubbing his hands as he waited at the doorway. Ran entered the room, took out the piece of level 2 mutated beast meat, and handed it to him. Just this one piece. About 30 gin. Little Lee quickly put it into a sealed bag, wondering why the meat this girl obtained was always so perfectly shaped. The 20 gin of level 2 mutated rat meat was one thing, but even the 30 gin of meat was a perfectly neat large chunk. Was it cut from some giant beast? Despite his doubts, his attitude was sincere. "I'll take it back for testing first, and then I'll report the data and price to you, okay?" Ran nodded, her eyes looking at the sealed bag in his hand. "Do you sell these there?" Yes. Little Lee said, "Small ones are 20 points each, large ones are 50 points. Ran, "Got it. I'll come to your place later to buy a few, and I also need to buy a smaller backpack. Please prepare it for me." Okay, Little Lee said, and then hurried away. Ran closed the door, first ate a handful of mutated rabbit meat, then put all her backpack and back basket into the beast-hide bag. And indeed, everything went in. And Ran was completely relieved now. She then tucked the small beast-hide bag into her close-fitting waist pouch, put on her protective suit, grabbed her weapon, and left. When she reached the second floor, she made a detour to room 48 to visit Sanki and the others. At this moment, her spirit had fully recovered, reaching a total of 21 points, which was perfect for testing the eye of investigation. Chapter 23. Waiting for a lifesaver. The door to room 48 was open, and Sanki came out of the house. Spotting Anran, she quickly trotted over. "Anran, you're down. I was just about to go upstairs to find you." Anran stopped and looked Sanki over. "When did you wake up? How are your elder brother and sister-in-law?" "They're both fine. They woke up early this morning," Sanki said. "They even had meat broth just now. My brother said his head doesn't hurt as much after drinking the meat broth." Anran nodded, said nothing, and quietly cast an eye of investigation on Sanki. Consumes 1 point of spirit. Investigation experience plus 10. Investigating target attributes. Song Sanki, bone age 18. Physique 10, strength 15, agility 6, spirit 4, moderately damaged, unawakened. Anran raised an eyebrow. No wonder Sanki is so strong. Her strength attribute is actually 15, much stronger than Anran was at that time. Sanki invited Anran inside. "I just finished cooking noodles. Come and eat some with me. After we eat, I'll go with you to clear out the bugs outside." "I've already eaten. You go eat quickly." Anran glanced into the house, saw Boss Song and his wife, whose faces were pale, greeted them, and cast an investigation skill. Consumes 1 point of spirit. Investigation experience plus 10. Investigating target attributes. Song Dahai, bone age 23, physique 10, strength 10, agility 8, spirit 1, moderately damaged, unawakened. Anran frowned. Song Dahai's mental energy was actually afflicted with a moderate damage debuff. Looking at Song Dasao again, she also had similar damage, and her spirit had already dropped to 0.5. If this situation were allowed to develop, these two would probably fall unconscious again soon, or even become idiots. After a moment of thought, she took out 2 primary mental strength recovery potions and handed them over. "These are for you. Drink them quickly." She wanted to understand how the potion affected the mental energy of ordinary people. Song Dahai was too embarrassed to continue accepting Anran's assistance and declined, saying, "I feel much better already. This is too valuable. You should keep it for yourself." Anran directly pushed the potion into his hand, her face serious as she said, "Your mental energy is severely damaged. If you don't treat it quickly, you might become an idiot later." This was not an exaggeration. There were many such cases in the base. Even talent users, once their mental energy is damaged, could become imbeciles if not treated promptly. Song Dahai and his wife were startled by these words and quickly took the potions, thanking Anran repeatedly. "Thank you. We will definitely repay you for these potions." With that, both of them drank the potions. A moment later, Anran cast 2 more investigation skills and found that the mental energy of Song Dahai and his wife was slowly increasing, stopping only when it reached 6 points. Presumably, this was the limit. However, the damage entry was still there, and she didn't know if their mental energy would drop again. She turned around and looked, not finding Yu Gang and his wife, and couldn't help but ask, "Where did Brother Yu and his wife go?" Sanki replied, "Brother Yu Gang took sister-in-law to her elder brother's place. Sister-in-law Yu's arm can't move, and he felt that staying here would drag us down." "I see." Anran nodded and walked out of the house. "You two go eat quickly. I'm going to the exchange office. You can find me there later." She was going to buy a backpack and a few sealed bags. "Okay, you go. I'll be quick." Sanki sat down swiftly, picked up her bowl, and started eating. Anran went downstairs and saw many tents set up in the courtyard below, squeezed together so tightly that there was barely any room to walk. Stepping out of building number 7, she was stunned by the sight before her. Dense swarms of crawling insects, of myriad strange species and vibrant colors, faintly exuded black mist, indicating that most of them were likely highly venomous. Especially the colorful mutated saddleback caterpillars, which were half a meter long, their hairs being the most insidious weapon. A small clump could poison a grown person to death. Where did all these things come from? Why are there so many? Are they not letting people live? Someone complained, holding a hammer and fiercely pounding the poisonous insects on the ground. Another person said, "These things appear every autumn, crawling everywhere to find places to cocoon, but not in such numbers. This year is truly insane. They're everywhere." Exactly. Now all the mutated plants outside have been eaten by bugs. What will we live on in the future? Alas, winter is almost here. At most a month, if we don't store up food, we'll just be waiting to die. Everyone sighed, their hatred for the bugs underfoot growing stronger. And Rand frowned deeply. Indeed, the wild grasses and leaves were all eaten by bugs. How would the more than 300,000 people in Azure Sparrow Base's inner and outer cities survive the winter? And Rand quickly ran to the exchange hall. As soon as she walked in, she saw a noisy scene inside. It seemed like mercenaries were arguing, and the atmosphere was tense. Damn you. You're telling me the inventory is empty? I worked hard all night fighting mutant beasts, and you're telling me all the potions are sold out, and there's not even any Tier 3 mutant beast meat left. The burly man in camouflage grabbed the camp's minor leader by the collar with one hand and pointed at his nose with the other, roaring. My team has over 30 injured, 6 critically. You're telling me there's nothing you can do? The minor leader was choked, his face beet red, desperately trying to pry open the burly man's large hand. Someone nearby tried to mediate. "Oh, Captain Chen, let's talk this out properly. No need for violence." The burly man shoved away the mediator, pointing his index finger at him. "Don't you dare try to smooth things over for me. Last night, someone took dozens of caddies of Tier 3 mutant beast meat from here, and now I'm here, and you're saying there's nothing left. What? Do you think I'm a soft persimmon, easy to squeeze?" The minor leader finally caught his breath, his face flushed as he struggled to explain. "Captain Chen, it's not that I don't want to give it to you, it's just that there really isn't any left in the inventory." "None? I don't believe it." Captain Chen gritted his teeth and said, "A Tier 3 mutant beast has at least 500 or 600 caddies of meat. Only dozens of caddies were shipped out in the middle of the night, and you're saying it's all gone by early morning. Do you take me for a 3-year-old child, easy to fool?" It's really gone." The minor leader pointed to the trembling young man behind the counter. "That meat last night was received by Xiao Kui. He knows best. If you don't believe me, go ask him." Captain Chen's jowls quivered. He shoved the minor leader aside, strode over with his long, muscular legs, and stared at the person behind the counter with hawk-like eyes. Xiao Kui was so scared he almost cried, trembling and backing away until he bumped into the shelf behind him. Don't come over. I really only received 77 caddies of mutant beast meat yesterday. It's all recorded in the accounts." Captain Chen slapped the counter, and the stone slab counter cracked inch by inch. He growled with a gloomy face. "What good are accounts? Who doesn't know you all have private stashes?" "No, there really isn't." Xiao Kui really cried this time. Seeing such a big man being so fragile, Captain Chen frowned. "If you really don't have any, then find the person who sold it. My team has dozens of injured waiting to be saved. I don't have time to listen to your rambling here." Xiao Kui sobbed and wiped his tears, then looked up and saw the girl from last night talking to Xiao Li. Chapter 24. Her ability is very sinister. "She's over there!" Xiao Kui, as if seeing a savior, pointed it and ran. "It's that girl, you can go ask her." Everyone looked at the girl in unison, and Ran was taking her small backpack from Xiao Li's hand. Feeling the strange gazes around her, she slightly tilted her head, her gaze sweeping over Xiao Kui and the crowd, then meeting the mercenary striding towards her. "You were selling level 3 mutated beast meat last night, weren't you?" Captain Chen stopped about a meter away, his sharp eyes scrutinizing the young, slender, short-haired girl. "Yes, what about it?" And Rand met his gaze. Captain Chen took a deep breath and said seriously, "Comrade, do you have any more? Many people in our company are injured and want to buy level 3 mutated beast meat to replenish their energy." "None left." "None?" Hearing this, Captain Chen's expression immediately twisted, and his eyes grew cold. "Comrade, it's not wise to lie to me at a time like this." And Rand's face also darkened. "None means none. Do I have a reason to lie?" She then cast an eye of investigation on Captain Chen. "Consume 1 point of spirit, investigation experience plus 10. Target attributes, Chen Kai, bone age 32, physique 22, strength 28, agility 12, spirit 15, level 2 strength awakener." Damn it, it's a level 2 strength talent, and both his physique and strength attributes are higher than hers. And Rand couldn't help but shuffle backward, maintaining a safe distance. This person clearly has a fiery temper. If he suddenly attacked, her small body couldn't withstand a single punch from him. "Then where did you get your level 3 meat?" Chen Kai had met with repeated setbacks, and his mood was very bad, his tone becoming increasingly stiff. "Who did you sell the rest to?" And Rand was speechless. Was she being interrogated like a criminal? She really wanted to say, "What's it to you?" But the words changed at the tip of her tongue. "Naturally, I picked it up outside. It was all exchanged at the camp. There's nothing left." To prove her words were true, she made up another lie. "It was too dark last night, so I only got 2 pieces, about 70 or 80 caddies in total. When I went back later, I couldn't find any more." Anyway, after a night, all the mutant beast corpses in the courtyard had been gnawed clean by insects, leaving only black skeletons. Let them search for evidence if they want. They definitely won't find any. Chen Kai stared at the girl for a while. Seeing no flaws, his heart sank. It seemed she really didn't have any level 3 mutated beast meat left. What could he do? Without potions, and without medium to high-grade low-pollution mutant beast meat, what would those severely injured with depleted mental energy rely on to resist their injuries and illness? Just a day ago, how could he have looked down on mere level 3 mutated beast meat? Who would have thought that overnight, everything would spiral out of control? Those beasts hoarding supplies, they deserve to die. The more Chen Kai thought, the angrier he got, and he turned to walk out. Forget it. He'd better go find that bastard Gu Xiaochuan. After a few steps, several people came towards him, blocking his path. One of the limping youths said, "Captain Chen, don't believe this woman's nonsense." Chen Kai narrowed his eyes at the person. "What do you mean?" "Her talent is gathering technique." It was Qian Yifan speaking. He stood next to Zhang Xiaodong and the others, leaning on his crutch, and looked provocatively at Anran. "Her ability is very sinister. She used to always gather low-value plants. We saw it with our own eyes. Now she might even be able to get low-value mutant beast meat." As soon as these words came out, everyone present looked at Anran, with greed and scrutiny. Chen Kai also sized up the young girl, his eyes flickering. Is what he said true? There are all sorts of strange abilities in this world. Perhaps this young girl really has the ability to purify highly polluted food. "Then go ask him." And Rand couldn't help but retort, a surge of anger rising in her heart. "Qian Yifan, huh? You've successfully caught my attention." Chen Kai. Qian Yifan, thinking he had Anran's weakness, continued to instigate. "Anran, stop pretending. Is it fun to hide your ability? Are you going to just watch Captain Chen's teammates die?" They were all injured protecting everyone. You can't be so selfish and hide all the third-tier mutant beast meat you obtained. Anran chuckled twice, a dry laugh. But in her heart she was hesitant. Did this guy see through her ability? It couldn't be that sinister, could it? She slowly walked up to Qian Yifan, and before he could retreat, she slapped him on the shoulder. "Oh, Qian Yifan, you're so noble. I remember your talent is purification, capable of purifying highly polluted substances. Then you must be hiding a lot of unpolluted high-grade mutant beast meat in your hands. Why don't you take it all out and give it to Captain Chen to save people? Come on, let's hurt each other." Ding! Consume 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful, experience plus 50. You gain 2 points of spirit. Hee hee. Not bad, not bad. This humiliation today wasn't in vain. And Ran grinned, ready to perform it again, but her palm was forcefully pushed away. "Don't be touchy-feely." Zhang Xiaoxiao pushed Anran's hand away, then helped Qian Yifan retreat several steps, staring at her vigilantly. "Look how nervous you are," Anran sneered. "As if I'm going to eat people." Zhang Xiaoxiao pursed her lips and said nothing. Her talent was perception, and at this moment she could sense an extremely strong killing intent from Anran. Anran tutted twice and continued, "I just want to remind you, Qian Yifan's purification ability is very powerful, much stronger than my humble gathering technique. What do you mean by hiding it? Do you want to push me out as a shield, to hide the fact that you possess a lot of high-grade pure meat? I'm telling you, no way. Ding, consume 1 point of spirit, experience plus 10, investigate target attributes, Qian Yifan, bone age 18, physique 16, strength 9, agility 9, spirit 14, junior purification talent user." Damn it, a junior ability user? Yet he still has so many attributes after being gathered from several times. Heaven is truly unfair. Don't talk nonsense. Qian Yifan could no longer hold back and shouted loudly, "When did we ever hide high-grade pure meat? Are you sure? Why don't we go search your team's living quarters? Don't worry, you're welcome to search my place too." And Ran could guarantee that Qian Yifan's team definitely hid a lot of purified high-grade beast meat. Qian Yifan was instantly speechless, instinctively looking at Zhang Xiaodong. Last night, their team had indeed accumulated a lot of second- and third-tier mutant beast meat, about 80 or 90 caddies, which he had purified all night. If it were to be searched, Zhang Xiaodong's face was stern and he said nothing, his eyes dark as he looked at Anran, wondering what he was thinking. "Don't dare, huh? Qian Yifan, are you feeling guilty?" Anran sneered. "Coward!" With that, she put on her backpack and left. If it weren't for the crowd, she would have let this kid know why the flowers are so red. At this moment, Chen Kai could clearly see that this limping kid was deliberately stirring up trouble, trying to get people to target that girl. He had, after all, led hundreds of people. For a foolish, scheming teenager like this, he knew what they were up to just by looking at their butt. However, this girl's talent ability seemed quite good. To be able to produce so much low-pollution mutant beast meat at once must be related to her gathering technique. Just as he was pondering whether to bring this girl back to the company to confirm, he saw her already walking out with her backpack. Hey, wait a minute." Chen Kai took large strides to catch up, and just as he was about to reach out to stop her, the girl shot out like an arrow, disappearing into the distance in a flash. This speed was comparable to a level 2 speed talent user. Chen Kai awkwardly retracted his hand and turned to look at Qian Yifan. "Your name is Qian Yifan, right? What level is your purification ability?" Chapter 25. The Little Magpie, Who Doesn't Know the Immensity of Heaven and Earth. Anran didn't care how Captain Chen tried to recruit Qian Yifan and his group, and didn't even wait for Sanqi, running directly to building number 7. Boss Song and Song Dasao were already exterminating insects in their assigned area, and she joined them, picking up a flamethrower and spraying. Most of these disgusting insects were low-level mutated insects, completely worthless for gathering skill. Just then, Sanqi trotted back, and as soon as she saw Anran, she mysteriously whispered in her ear, Let me tell you something. That guy surnamed Cheon and his group have all been taken in by the Falcon mercenary group. And Ran wasn't surprised. After all, her performance had already delivered Cheon Yifan right into the Falcon mercenary group's hands. In that previous dream, she and many ability users were locked in the basement of the Cat Ear Girl Club, hearing the researchers' conversations every day. They used the blood of ability users to develop awakening potions, which they then sold at high prices to those who hadn't awakened, and the Falcon mercenary group was one of their collaborators. In other words, the Falcon mercenary group both bought and sold. They provided mutant blood plasma to researchers, and also purchased awakening potions from them. Sigh, if only I had an ability, I'd sign up for the Falcon mercenary group too. Sanki sighed with a wistful expression. That was the largest legion in the base. It was said that the benefits were excellent, and one could even bring their family to settle in the inner city. And Ran was silent for a moment, then said in a low voice, "What's so good about the Falcon mercenary group? Even if you awaken later, don't go to a place like that." "Why?" Sanki was very confused, widening her eyes as she looked at Anran. Anran scoffed. "Because you're a woman, your combat power is limited. Your only value might be as a blood bag." She really wanted to tell Sanki the origin of those awakening potions. But for someone who hadn't awakened, they wouldn't empathize. They only cared about whether they could awaken. "What blood bag?" Sanki asked curiously. Anran, literally a bag for fresh blood. Sanki scratched her head, still not understanding. Just then the sky gradually darkened. Someone shouted, "Oh no! A flock of mutated birds is coming!" And Ran looked up and indeed saw a large flock of mutated birds flying from the horizon, covering the sky and earth, quickly obscuring the dim yellow sunlight completely. Heavens! So many mutated birds? Everyone was stunned. "Quick! Get inside the building!" Song Dahai roared, pulling the girl, and ran to run with Song Dasao close behind. Soon those birds swooped down, pecking directly at the insects on the ground. The survivors were dumbfounded. "So the mutated birds came to eat the insects? Thank goodness, such a good thing?" "Quickly, notify the outpost by the wall not to shoot at the mutated birds." Right. Don't shoot. Let these birds catch all the disgusting insects." And Ran returned to her single room on the 4th floor and looked out the window. The entire camp, both above and on the ground, was filled with mutated birds. They flew up and down, looking like a dense swarm of mosquitoes from afar. Some birds flew past the window, and Anran finally saw clearly that most of them were 2 to 3 tier mutated sparrows, less than a meter in size. There were also mutated magpies and other bird species over a meter long, but they all shared one characteristic: they ate poisonous insects. And Ran was engrossed in watching, casually grabbing a handful of diced meat and chewing it. Having used her skills multiple times, her spirit were significantly depleted. She had to recover quickly. She still wanted to shear some wool from the 2 to 3 tier mutated birds. Chirp, chirp! A small mutated magpie landed outside the window, occasionally tilting its head to observe Anran inside the wire mesh. And Ran's first reaction was to use her gathering skill. But these birds were extremely vengeful and recognized people. Hitting the young ones would definitely provoke the older ones, leading to an endless feud. At that point, Anran wouldn't be able to step out of the earthen building. However, she could use her investigation skill. Consumes 1 point of spirit, investigation experience +10, investigation target attributes, 2-tier mutated magpie, bone age 4 months, constitution 22, strength 16, agility 23, spirit 25, skill, level 2 shriek, can cause 6 to 15 points of mental damage, effective range 5 meters, lasts 3 seconds, each use consumes 8 points of spirit. Anran was numb. The overall attributes of a 2-tier mutated magpie were actually higher than hers, and it had even awakened a mental attack. Fortunately, she was wise not to use her gathering skill, otherwise, if she offended this guy, she would really be finished. Anran instinctively retreated, moving away from this dangerous bird. Unexpectedly, the magpie outside became anxious, continuously flapping against the wire mesh, looking like it wanted to rush in. And Ran was startled and turned to run. The wire mesh and window glass were instantly pecked through, and a lightning-fast black figure darted in, chasing directly after Anran. Anran's hand had just touched the doorknob when she felt something pressing on her shoulder. Her expression instantly changed, and she stiffly turned her head to look. She saw the magpie hooked onto her shoulder, chirping incessantly, flapping its wings against her head, its black bean-like eyes staring intently at the diced meat in her hand. Anran calmed her panic, swallowed, and with difficulty raised her arm, offering the few pieces of diced meat in her palm towards her shoulder. The little magpie quickly pecked at the diced meat, then tilted its head and met the human's gaze, its meaning perfectly clear. Helpless, Anran had no choice but to take out another small handful and offer it to the bird. The little magpie ate contentedly, its sharp beak accurately pecking at the diced meat without touching the human's delicate palm. Anran was deep in thought. When the little magpie finished eating again and still refused to leave, she took out some diced meat, put it in a bowl, and placed it on the windowsill. "Eat quickly, then leave when you're full. Don't come back." However, things didn't go as planned. The little magpie only ate half this time and then stopped, but it didn't leave. Instead, it hopped around the room, playing by itself. What an ignorant little thing, unaware of its impending doom. Anran secretly grumbled, walked to the window, and prepared to block it before dealing with the bird. Fortunately, only one window pane was broken, about 60 centimeters long and wide, otherwise she wouldn't have found anything to block it with. "Chirp! Chirp!" The little magpie hopped over again, stood at the broken window, constantly tilting its head to observe Anran, its eyes becoming wary. Anran distinctly felt a wave of hostility spread around her, immediately stopped her actions, slowly put down the gas can in her hand, and said with an awkward smile, "The window is drafty, and insects might fly in." The little magpie clearly no longer trusted her, but it didn't attack. Instead, it walked back and forth on the windowsill, refusing to leave. An hour passed like this. Anran was already lying on her small wooden bed, browsing her wristwatch for information, not even glancing at the little magpie. The screen was full of posts and videos about various insect and beast tides, with Azure Sparrow Base suffering the most damage. The base even deployed drones to spray liquids and powders, attempting to poison the overwhelming mutated insects, but it was merely a drop in the bucket, having no effect whatsoever. Just then, the communication ringtone on her wristwatch sounded. Before Anran could answer, the little magpie darted over and pecked at the wristwatch. With a crack, the wristwatch screen shattered. Chapter 26, Uncooperative. "You bad magpie, how could you peck my wristwatch until it broke?" Anran pushed little magpie away and quickly checked her wristwatch. Fortunately, only the screen was shattered. Other functions were still usable. Little magpie seemed to know it had caused trouble, standing still with its wings drooping. Anran ignored it and answered the call. On the other end was an unfamiliar, sweet female voice. "Hello, this is the Falcon Mercenary Group. May I ask if you are Ms. Anran?" Anran was silent for a moment, then replied, "Yes. It's like this. Our regiment is planning to recruit a batch of Awakened with excellent benefits. Your ability meets our recruitment standards. Ms. Anran, would you consider joining our Falcon Regiment?" "No, I won't." Anran flatly refused. "If there's nothing else, I'm hanging up. I'm very busy." With that, she ended the call. The woman on the other end saw the call disconnect and helplessly looked at Chen Kai. "Captain Chen?" She refused. Chen Kai narrowed his eyes, tapped his fingers on the table for a while, and said, "Take 2 people to talk to her in person and investigate her level. If she's still uncooperative, have her go out to lure mutant beasts. That girl's speed is comparable to a level 2 speed talent user, so her efficiency should be higher than a beginner speed talent user. If she's still uncooperative, Just have her go out to lure mutant beasts. That girl's speed is comparable to a level 2 speed talent user, so her efficiency should be higher than a beginner speed talent user. All right, Captain Chen, I'll go now. The woman nodded, walked out of the office, and gently closed the door. Brother, what was the total casualty count for our main team yesterday? Has it been tallied? Chen Kai asked. The middle-aged man sitting behind the desk pushed a form over. See for yourself. Chen Kai picked it up, glanced at it, and frowned deeply. 31 dead, 23 seriously injured? How can there be so many? Chen Zhang lit a cigarette, took a puff, and said indifferently, The Thunder Regiment had even more deaths, about 50 or so. This. Chen Kai continued to ask, Then what about the casualties for the civilian ability user teams and civilian teams? Chen Zhang exhaled a puff of smoke. Excluding our 2 mercenary groups, a total of 392 people died. The injured are not included in the statistics. So many dead? Chen Kai felt much more balanced. Chen Zhang snorted. They also have many people. Our main team only has over 500 people. Excluding the Thunder Regiment, the civilian teams are more than 10 times our size. Only 300 plus casualties? How is that a lot? Chen Kai suddenly understood, slapped the table and cursed. A bunch of good-for-nothings. If our team hadn't protected those guys, could they have survived safely? Damn it, they even used up all the camp's resources. I really want to kick them all out to feed the mutant beasts. All right, don't smash the table again. Chen Zhang saw his younger brother lose his temper, impatiently waved his hand. If you have time to get angry here, you might as well take people to search the various rooms. The civilian teams occupy so many resources yet have no ability to protect the camp. It's better to take them back and make the best use of them. Good. I'll go search right now. Damn it. Our injured don't even have medicine, but those bastards are hoarding important resources. This time, I'm going to properly rectify camp number 98, Chen Kai said, then walked out. Chen Zhang spoke. Wait. What else? Chen Kai had to turn back. Chen Zhang. Find a group of people to hunt high-level mutant beasts outside the camp, bring their corpses back, and have that new kid purify them. Chen Kai slapped his forehead, chuckled. Almost forgot. I'll go organize the manpower right away. Then he opened the door and left. Building number 7, room 59, 4th floor. And Rand was holding her wristwatch, complaining to Little Magpie. Little thing, how are you going to compensate me for breaking my stuff? How about you call all your brothers and sisters over so I can pet them? Little Magpie hung its head, looking guilty. Seeing the human constantly chattering, it simply wrapped its head with its 2 wings. And Rand found it amusing and lowered her guard against Little Magpie a little. Why are you hiding? Why don't you go find your relatives? She tentatively stroked Little Magpie's back feathers, and the little fellow didn't dodge like before. And Rand simply moved it closer to her, rubbed its head with her hand, and began to think about adopting it as a pet. Just then, a knock suddenly sounded at the door. Little Magpie chirped in fright and shot over to the window, and Rand glanced at her finger. A cut had been made by Little Magpie's sharp feather barb, and blood was flowing out. Who is it? She was a little annoyed and angrily opened the door. Standing at the door were 3 fully equipped mercenaries. 1 was a beautiful woman, and 2 were men. She didn't recognize any of them, and Rand frowned. What's the matter? The beautiful woman smiled and introduced herself. We are from the Falcon Mercenary Group. My name is Lu Ruyu, and these 2 are my teammates. We'd like to talk to you. And Rand's gaze swept over them, feeling as if something was secretly peeking at her. But besides them, there was no one else at the door. Come in. It wasn't right to keep them standing there, and she didn't want to completely offend the Falcon Regiment people. She also wanted to know what they wanted to talk about. Thank you. The woman's voice was gentle and friendly, making it hard to feel any ill will. And Rand walked into the room first. Fortunately, she had taken out her backpack and sleeping bag from the beast pouch earlier. Otherwise, The empty room really would have raised suspicions. Luckily, there was a wooden stool in the room, so when Ran offered it to her guests. As for which of the three sat, she didn't care. In the end, Lu Ruyu sat down and said with a smile, "It's like this. We want to understand your exact thoughts. Some things can't be explained clearly over the phone, and it might be easier for us to communicate face to face." And Ran didn't answer, instead pouring 3 bowls of water and handing them to the three, casually throwing an eye of investigation at them. Consumed 1 point of spirit, experience plus 10. Target attribute investigation. Lu Ruyu. Bone age 25. Physique 18. Strength 15. Agility 12. Spirit 20. Level 2 water talent. Consumed 1 point of spirit. Feng Fenty. Agility 20. Agility 22. Level 2 speed talent. Consumed 1 point of spirit. Experience plus 10. Target attribute investigation. Feng Yi. Bone age 25. Physique 18. Strength 15, Agility 13, Spirit 25, Level 2 investigation talent. Can investigate all targets no more than 2 levels higher than himself. Damn it. This skinny man is actually a Level 2 investigator. No wonder she felt something was off earlier. It was probably this man who used a skill on her. If you are unkind, I will be unjust. You bastard, let's see who loses more. And Ran approached Feng Yi, handed him the water bowl, and smiled faintly. Please drink some water. Ding. Consumed 1 point of spirit. Collection successful. Experience plus 50. You gained 2 points of spirit. Feng Yi had just waved his hand to refuse when he suddenly felt his head spin, as if he had been attacked by mental energy. He subconsciously covered his temples, looking at Ran with a wary expression. What did you do to me? Chapter 27. She's taking this pet for sure. The other two immediately became vigilant, quickly moving away from the girl, their eyes suddenly sharp. And Ran's hand, holding the bowl, froze in place. She said innocently, What did I do? I didn't do anything. Damn it, they're that sensitive. I should have gathered from the other two first. She walked to the window, hugged Little Magpie, and said, Little Magpie, did you do something naughty again? Little Magpie tilted its head, looked left and right, blinked its black bean-like eyes, thought for a moment, and then suddenly shrieked, craning its neck. The sound wave was like iron spikes scraping against an iron plate, piercing and sharp. All 3 people at the door clutched their heads and screamed in pain. Make it stop. And Ran was stunned for a moment, then patted Little Magpie's head, suppressing a laugh, and whispered, Good boy, don't scream anymore. What a huge surprise! Little Magpie's mental attack didn't affect her at all? Wahaha! She's definitely keeping this pet. Little Magpie indeed stopped shrieking, flapped its wings, and then preened its feathers a few times with its beak, seemingly displeased that humans had ruffled its feathers. Looking back at the 3 people at the door, they were all pale, leaning against the door and panting heavily. And Ran put Little Magpie down and ran over with a look of concern, first helping Lu Ruyu, then helping the other 2. I'm so sorry. My pet is a bit temperamental and might have hurt you. Oh, I often get hurt by it too. But don't worry. You'll be fine after a night's rest. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 50. You gain 2 points of agility. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 50. You gained 2 points of spirit. Ding! Consumed 1 point of spirit. You gained 2 points of strength. Hey! With this round of wool gathering, her spirit directly soared to 27 points. Even her agility reached 22. Now escaping should be no problem, right? When the team has a mission, report to the Falcon Mercenary Group first. Someone will brief you. I'm heading back now. Lu Ruyu not only had a headache, but also felt much heavier now. She dared not stay here any longer and immediately opened the door and left. The other 2 followed her out, walking somewhat unsteadily. And Ran watched the 3 leave, her brows gradually furrowing. She closed the door, walked up to Little Magpie, poked its head, and said, "You've caused me a lot of trouble. From now on, you'll have to dedicate yourself to me." Little Magpie chirped twice and flew onto Enran's shoulder. "If you don't object, I'll take that as a yes, okay?" Enran muttered to herself as she rummaged for a rope, intending to tie Little Magpie's leg. She would take it with her when she went out later. Unexpectedly, before she found the rope, the door was knocked on again, or rather, pounded on. "Bang, bang, bang! Open the door! The Legion has a mission! All awakened ones, come out and listen to the order!" Little Magpie was startled again, fluttered to the windowsill, and was about to shriek with its neck craned when Enran rushed over and pinched its beak. "Shh! Don't make noise. Do you want to be stewed and eaten?" Little Magpie blinked its black bean-like eyes, not understanding. "Stay put, or I won't be able to protect you," Enran said, then walked to the door and pulled it open. It was the Falcon mercenary group again, truly persistent. "You must be Enran, right? You've been conscripted by our regiment. Come down with us now." All the mercenaries looked fierce, holding energy guns pointed directly at Enran, as if they would shoot if she dared to say no. "All right, I'll go pack up," Enran said, about to close the door. One person kicked the door open and shouted, "We'll watch you pack. Hurry up. Don't try any tricks." Enran's face darkened, and she turned back into the room to pack her backpack. After putting everything away, she realized Little Magpie was gone, and Enran walked to the window and looked out. Most of the mutated bird flock outside had flown away, but many were still searching for insects on the ground and walls. She couldn't tell which one was the Little Magpie from before. What a pity. Enran felt a sense of loss, carrying her backpack downstairs. The mercenaries followed behind her, escorting her like a prisoner to the Falcon Mercenary Group's headquarters. This was Earth Building No. 1, and the Falcon Regiment's headquarters were located in the houses within the courtyard. Dozens of people had already been gathered, seemingly members of various civilian ability user teams. Soon, Captain Chen Kai walked out and spoke. "I've called everyone here because there's an important mission for you. Camp number 98 has been besieged by fierce beasts for a day and a night, leading to a shortage of various resources. Many people can't buy food, and the injured have no medicine for treatment. After discussing with the Thunder Legion, we unanimously agreed that we must drive away the fierce beasts outside. Therefore, a group of capable talent users has been selected to fight alongside our two teams. Next, we will arrange the battle plan." 20 minutes later, Enran was assigned to a small team and unexpectedly encountered a somewhat familiar person, the woman who had cried for medicine last night. The woman held a curved saber, her mental state was good, and there was no trace of last night's sorrow on her face. "Sister, my name is Ningmei, a speed talent user. I'm glad to be assigned to the same team as you." Enran nodded at her. "My name is Enran, gathering skill." Ningmei smiled. "Sister Enran, thanks to your level 3 mutated beast meat last night, my husband is finally out of danger. Congratulations." The two talked as they walked out with the team. Along the way, Enran scanned the sky and the ground, trying to find Little Magpie, but the result was disappointing. Never mind. If it's not meant to be, then may we both be well. The camp gate opened, and a group of people rushed out quickly. Looking out, the wilderness was desolate. Not even a sporadic patch of green could be seen. Only bare branches and scorched earth remained in the distance and near. Of course, there were also many mutant beasts, all slow-moving behemoths, gnawing on some broken limbs and bones. Enran also noticed that as the greenery disappeared, there were fewer mutated insects on the ground. She guessed some were eaten by birds, and others crawled elsewhere. "Second squad, listen up. You will immediately launch a frontal attack on this behemoth, and make sure to lure it into the pond by the big willow tree." That pond was very deep and had a lot of mud. They wanted to use the terrain to trap the behemoth, and then surround and kill it. Enran happened to be assigned to the second squad. Hearing the order, a cold smile appeared at the corner of her mouth. Their plan was quite good, but she wondered if it would succeed. making a civilian squad the vanguard to launch a frontal attack on a 5-meter-tall giant beast. These people were truly calculating. If the giant beast went berserk and attracted other mutant beasts to attack, then these 10 people would surely die. And Rand looked around, searching for the best escape route. But she couldn't escape yet, because there were several third-level speed ability users in those 2 mercenary teams. Her agility of 22 was no match for those with 30-plus agility, not to mention they had energy guns. The battle was about to erupt. Someone first used a flamethrower to attack a giant beast that was eating meat, but the flames sprayed on the big fella were like tickling its hard spines. The others also threw their spears. The giant beast raised its head, staring at the invading little insects. Roar. Chapter 28. Encountering Danger and Injury. With a roar, the enormous behemoth charged over, and Rand quickly retreated, running toward the massive willow tree. Unexpectedly, this behemoth possessed an ability. The air within a dozen meters around it suddenly rippled, perfectly encircling the 10 people who were running. In an instant, the 10 people felt as if they were submerged in thick paste, their movements extremely sluggish and slow. And Rand was also caught by this strange field, feeling as if her entire body was wrapped in thick liquid. No matter how much strength she exerted, she could only move like a snail. However, the behemoth was unaffected, catching up to the 10 people in just 2 seconds and instantly sending several flying. And Rand was relatively lucky, as she wasn't in the center of the collision. Even so, she was still flung away by the powerful airflow, tumbling continuously in the air before crashing heavily onto the ground a dozen meters away. And Rand felt that her internal organs had shifted, and for a moment, she couldn't get up, a sweet, metallic scent rising in her nose and mouth. If her physique hadn't reached 21, and if she hadn't had a large backpack providing some cushioning, her spine and internal organs would likely have been smashed to pieces. Yet that wasn't the end of it. The behemoth caught up to the teammates it had knocked away and stomped fiercely, instantly turning several people into a pile of minced meat. And Rand saw the horrific scene clearly, and intense fear made her mind go blank. Suppressing the intense pain throughout her body, she rolled over and knelt up. Before she could stand, she saw the behemoth already heading her way. Separated by only a few meters, in just 2 seconds, that massive beast hoof would crush her into minced meat as well. It's over! This time it's truly over. How unwilling she was! Intense regret welled up in her heart. She clearly could have been more cautious. She clearly could have escaped immediately. Why did she take this risk? She was still too arrogant. The strength rapidly gained by collecting attributes had ultimately blinded her. Just as despair rose in her heart, a sharp, piercing cry rang out overhead, and the behemoth paused its steps. It was Little Magpie, and Rand was pleasantly surprised. Without time to check where Little Magpie was, she struggled to stand up. Just then, a person suddenly darted out from the side, grabbed and ran, and sprinted into the distance. And Rand also endured the intense pain in her abdomen and tried her best to match her pace, pushing her speed to the limit. Ahead was that massive willow tree, easily 3 or 4 meters in diameter, and immediately to the east of the willow tree was a huge pond. Although called a pond, it was actually a deep pit created over a decade ago when soil was excavated to construct Camp No. 98, which later accumulated a lot of rainwater. Now the water had dried up, revealing a drop of about 4 or 5 meters, perfect for trapping beasts. Let's go down. The one who saved her was Ning Mei. One of her arms was dangling, seemingly broken. And Rand glanced back and nodded. They could only descend into the pond now, because the behemoth was already chasing them, and its speed was considerable. And the pond in front of them happened to block their path. She couldn't avoid going down even if she wanted to. Thus, Rand helped Ning Mei down to the bottom of the pit, trying to walk towards the center of the large pit. The pit was 100 or 200 meters in diameter, and it had gathered many crawling insects, all kinds, densely packed and quite creepy. and Rand suppressed her nausea while stepping on these insects. She had intended to use the flamethrower to clear a path, but the gun had been lost in the fall. Her helmet was nowhere to be seen, and even her protective suit was torn in 2 places. Fortunately, the insect repellent in her protective suit pocket was still there. She took out both bottles and sprayed both herself and Ning Mei thoroughly. This stuff was very effective. The insects subconsciously avoided their legs and feet, no longer crawling onto them. Ang! With another beast roar, that behemoth had reached the edge of the willow tree. Seeing the 2 tiny insects in the pit, it roared furiously but dared not descend. Following its roar, another behemoth approached, and the 2 behemoths began circling the pond. "If they don't come down, we can't go up," Ning Mei said helplessly. "I wonder if anyone will come over to support us." And Rand shook her head. After such a brutal scene just now, who would still come over? It's likely that even the mercenary group didn't anticipate that this behemoth had awakened an ability, and a field ability with such a large range. True. Ning Mei sighed, her complexion growing paler. With a broken arm, her ability to hold on until now was based on a strong will to survive. Now that she had stopped to rest, she was on the verge of collapse. Seeing this, and Rand quickly pulled out a handful of diced meat and handed it over. "Eat some. We still have to run for our lives later." Ning Mei took it, thanked her, and was about to put it in her mouth when she saw a black, white, and blue little magpie darting down from the massive willow tree, shooting toward her face like an arrow released from a bowstring. Startled, she quickly dodged and was about to swing her fist to strike. But unexpectedly, Ayn Rand stepped in front of her. "Little magpie!" Ayn Rand held up the diced meat in her hand. "Come here!" Little magpie slammed on the brakes, crashing smack into Ayn Rand's arms, scattering 2 feathers. Ayn Rand let out a muffled groan, clutching her stomach and bending over in pain. "Ning Mei!" Little Magpie was also stunned by the crash, forgetting to struggle while being held by a human. "Are you all right?" Ning Mei asked anxiously. "I'm fine." And Rand only managed to speak after recovering for a long moment. "Chirp, chirp." "Not fine at all." Little Magpie struggled to poke its head out from under the human's arm, looking around for its diced meat. "This is..." Ning Mei was surprised to see that Little Magpie wasn't afraid of people. "Your pet." Ayn Rand nodded vaguely. It was the one that saved us just now, wasn't it?" Ning Mei finally remembered the moment of crisis earlier, when a small mutated bird cried out above Ayn Rand's head. She was far away at the time, and was only slightly affected, but she knew the bird had launched a mental attack. She thought the mutated bird was attacking Ayn Rand, but the girl was fine, and the behemoth's movement slowed down instead. So Ning Mei quickly activated her speed ability, rushed over, and dragged Ayn Rand away. Ayn Rand stroked Little Magpie's head. "Yes, Little Magpie is a level 2 mutated bird, and its skill is mental attack." "It's level 2 already, even though it's so small?" Ning Mei looked at Little Magpie enviously. "You must have invested a lot of capital, right?" Ayn Rand smiled, shamelessly agreeing. Anyway, Little Magpie couldn't talk and didn't understand what Ning Mei was saying. "Chirp, chirp." Little Magpie finally broke free from the human's arms and jumped directly onto her backpack. Ayn Rand raised her arm and handed over the diced meat in her palm. "Eat, and help me out again later." That behemoth had already descended to the bottom of the pit. Its heavy body caused it to sink into the mud, and it occasionally let out a high-pitched roar of anger. The other behemoth was relatively clever. It didn't follow the first one down but circled the huge pond, howling. Strangely, the limbs of the behemoth at the bottom of the pit seemed stuck in the mud by something, unable to move at all. So now was the time for her to exact her revenge. And Rand took off her backpack and placed it in Ning Mei's hands. "Hold this bag for me. I'm going to confront that behemoth." "What? You're going to confront it?" Ning Mei thought she had misheard. "The behemoth is trapped now. I'll take Little Magpie closer and see if we can use mental attack to make it lose its ability to move," Ayn Rand said. Ning Mei was shocked. That behemoth is at least a level 5 mutant beast. Your little magpie is only level 2. If it suffers a backlash, it'll be finished. Besides, that thing has a domain. You mustn't underestimate the enemy. I know. And Rand certainly wouldn't tell Ning Mei that she wasn't relying on little magpie, but was using this excuse to get closer to the behemoth and try to collect attributes from it. Chapter 29. Internal Organ Injuries. Seeing Rand insist, Ning Mei had no choice but to carry the large backpack and follow behind her. She stopped advancing when they were about 20 meters away from the giant beast, whispering, "If you encounter any trouble, just call me." "Okay." And Rand walked around to the side of the giant beast and slowly approached it. Little Magpie stood on her shoulder, looking warily at the giant beast. As the distance grew shorter, and Rand's heart pounded like a drum, this colossal giant beast, resembling a small mountain, not only delivered a visual shock but also exerted a powerful sense of oppression. And Rand steadied herself, took little Magpie off her shoulder, and tossed it toward the sky behind her. "Fly away first, fly far away." Little Magpie, thrown without warning, shot up high into the sky, chirping incessantly in protest. And Rand ignored it and continued to approach the giant beast. The trapped giant beast was still howling, but the frequency had decreased. The one on the bank, however, was raging, rushing back and forth, and would frantically charge whenever it spotted a human silhouette. This meant that the people from the mercenary group could only watch from afar and did not dare to approach the pond. And Rand was happy about this. She certainly didn't want her strange behavior to be seen by those people. But what was the deal with the 2 drones in the sky? She really wanted to shoot them down. Just as she was thinking this, she suddenly saw little Magpie fly toward the 2 drones, seemingly treating them as targets. But the drones weren't to be trifled with, and they immediately counterattacked. Little Magpie was caught off guard and lost a few feathers. This stirred up a hornet's nest. Little Magpie let out a sharp cry, and before long, countless magpies flew in from all directions. These magpies were quite large, 2 or 3 times the size of little Magpie, clearly old birds that had lived for several years. Chirping sounds filled the sky, and a large flock of magpies surrounded the 2 strange objects, quickly shooting down both drones. On top of an armored vehicle in the distance, the mercenary holding the drone controller was dumbfounded and heartbroken beyond measure. Where did these damn birds come from? Why are they crazy about messing with my drone? The other operator glared at him. "It's your fault, isn't it? Why did you attack that little magpie for no reason? Now look, mine is ruined too." And Rand also saw the scene of the flock of birds attacking the drones, and she was immensely grateful that she hadn't attacked little Magpie, or the drone's fate would have been her own reflection. After walking a little further, she was now within 1 meter of the giant beast. First, she used the Eye of Investigation. Consuming 1 point of spirit, experience +10, target attributes, 5th tier mutated iron thorn beast, bone age 4 years, constitution 320, strength 400, agility 25, spirit 38. Skill, domain LV3. Can create a stagnation effect within a 15-meter radius of the body. Effective duration 60 seconds. Each use consumes 10 points of spirit. Cooldown 30 minutes. And Rand gasped. With over 300 constitution, no wonder even bullets couldn't penetrate it. 400 strength was even more terrifying. If it charged the camp's courtyard wall, she doubted the wall could withstand it. When she saw the last line of text, and Rand was pleasantly surprised. It turned out that the Iron Thorn Beast's supernatural power also had a cooldown, and it lasted for half an hour. It shouldn't have been half an hour yet, right? She had to hurry and get to work. And Rand stepped forward, reached out her hand, and activated the gathering skill. Ding! Consuming 5 points of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience +100. You gained 5 constitution. Damn. Gathering from a 5th tier Iron Thorn Beast actually consumed 5 points of spirit. However, the rewards were also quite substantial, barely breaking even. With 5 points of constitution added, and Ran suddenly felt a warm current flow through her body, and the pain in her internal organs was greatly reduced. Without further delay, she continued with the second gathering attempt. Ding! Consuming 5 points of spirit. Gathering successful. Experience plus 100. You gained 2 points of strength. The harvest decreased? No matter, keep going. At this moment, the giant beast also became furious. The sudden loss of attribute values made it realize something was wrong. It roared continuously and struggled desperately, its massive body kneeling in the mud. However, its limbs seemed to be firmly entangled by something, making it impossible to move. Ding! Consuming 5 points of spirit, gathering successful, experience plus 100, you obtained 1 iron thorn beast horn, demonic contamination value 65. Can be used to craft high-quality weapons. And Ran stared dumbfounded at the 5-meter-long spike at her feet. What happened? How did she manage to pull off the spike on top of the giant beast's forehead? And it was a shrunken version. Looking at the giant beast again, there was indeed 1 less spike on its forehead. Actually, it wasn't exactly missing, rather, 1 spike had suddenly withered, turning into a brittle, dead black horn, fundamentally different from the other one. The giant beast was also stunned, staring blankly at the spike on the ground, slightly unsure if it was its own, but the familiar aura couldn't be wrong. This tiny ant actually ripped off its proudest defensive weapon. A trace of fear crept into its heart. The giant beast howled helplessly, "Mom, save me! Baby wants to go home." At this moment, the iron thorn beast was truly terrified, and Ran wanted to use it one more time, but a prompt appeared in her mind. Consuming 5 points of spirit, gathering failed. The maximum number of gatherings for this creature has been reached. Holy cow! So the same creature can only be gathered from a maximum of 3 times. Why didn't it say so earlier? She lost 5 points of spirit for nothing, and Ran picked up the 1.5-meter-long spike, turned around, and ran. She had to admit, this horn was really heavy, weighing over 50 pounds. But this weight was nothing to her current self. When Ning Mei saw Ran returning with a long spike, she stuttered, How did you manage to remove the giant beast's spike?" She had seen it clearly just now. As soon as the girl's hand approached the giant beast, a long spike fell off within seconds. It had completely astonished her. She had thought the giant beast would surely counterattack out of pain, but nothing happened. "Don't ask! Let's go quickly!" And Ran only had 2 points of spirit left, so there was no point staying here. It was better to leave immediately. All right. Ning Mei had wanted to leave ages ago. Hearing this, she sighed in relief, but just as she was about to pick up the large backpack, and Ran took it. And Ran tied the 1.5-meter-long spike to the top of the backpack, shouldered it, grabbed Ning Mei, and ran. Her constitution was currently 26, close to that of a third-tier talent user, making her much stronger than Ning Mei. Combined with 25 strength, she could practically carry Ning Mei in sprint. The two walked eastward across the dried pond mud, taking advantage of the other giant beast, focusing on the one trapped in a pit, and climbed onto the bank from a different direction. After avoiding several low-tier mutant beasts and reaching a safe area, Ran glanced in the direction of the camp and asked, "Sister Ning Mei, are you going back to the base or coming with me?" She just asked casually. She didn't really intend to take Ning Mei with her, especially since Ning Mei's husband was still at the camp. Since she wasn't planning on going back, she might as well take advantage of the morning and trek to another camp. She could also gather another wave of attributes along the way, perhaps pushing her stats past 30. "You're leaving?" Ning Mei was surprised, and Ran nodded. "I want to go back to the base to check things out." "No way, kid. The beast tide isn't over yet. How dangerous would it be for you to travel alone?" Ning Mei felt that the girl was just being whimsical and too fond of taking risks. "If you run into mutated wolves on the road, you won't even be able to escape." And Ran froze. "Right. How could she have forgotten about creatures like mutated wolves? Those things are pack animals. They travel in large groups. They are ferocious, cunning, and fast. If she encountered them, her 22 speed stat wouldn't be nearly enough. Forget it. Forget it. She should just go back to the camp and lay low for now. And Ran was very receptive to advice now, and immediately said, "Then I'll listen to you. I'll go back to the base after the beast tide passes." "That's better." Ningmei was also happy and couldn't help but add, "Kid, what building do you live in? Let's add each other as friends so we can keep in touch." "Okay," and Ran performed a few operations and handed over her wristwatch. Ningmei saw that her wristwatch was broken and couldn't help but sigh, feeling deeply apologetic. What a kind girl. She wouldn't even buy a new wristwatch when hers was broken, yet she sold third-tier mutant beast meat to her at a low price. From now on, she would recognize this girl as her sister. Meeting a partner with such good character, someone she could entrust her back to, was truly her great fortune. After adding each other as friends, the two limped toward the camp. They chatted as they walked. "Kid, just pretend you have internal organ injuries. Don't try to be brave. There are so many talent users at the camp, they don't need the few of us." And Rand's back instantly hunched over slightly, and her limp became more pronounced. They hadn't walked far when an armored vehicle drove up close, and a person poked their head out to ask, "Are you two all right?" Ningmei, her face pale, pointed to her broken arm and said miserably, "My arm is broken, and my whole body hurts." Anran said nothing, immediately fainting onto the ground. "Kid, what's wrong, kid?" Ningmei paused, then seized the opportunity to cry out dramatically. "I saw you spitting blood just now. Did you injure your internal organs?" Chapter 30. Compensation. Hearing this, the mercenary on the armored vehicle immediately got down, and together with another person, lifted the unconscious girl into the carriage, preparing to send her back to the camp. During this time, little Magpie continuously circled and flew above the vehicle, chirping loudly. The mercenary looked up and immediately shouted, "Damn it! Isn't that the Magpie that shot down our drone? I'll shoot you down!" Hearing this, Anran suddenly opened her eyes, stopped feigning unconsciousness, and quickly sat up to intervene. "I raised that! Don't you dare shoot it!" As she spoke, she grabbed the mercenary and pulled him inside from the doorway. The mercenary looked bewildered. "You raised it? Then how are you going to compensate for the drone it destroyed? Didn't you attack it first? Why should I compensate?" As soon as compensation was mentioned, Anran immediately refused. The mercenary widened his eyes. "Clearly the Magpie attacked the drone first, and we only retaliated. Don't be unreasonable, all right?" "Who is being unreasonable? It's an underage fledgling, only this big. What could it possibly attack you with?" And Rand decided to be stubborn. Nobody was going to make her pay. "You?" The mercenary wanted to continue arguing, but then heard a light cough from the back seat. "Little Zhang, stop talking. This young lady still has internal injuries. Don't make her angry." The mercenary immediately shut up, giving Anran an angry glare. Anran turned her head, and only then realized there was another person sitting in the back seat of the armored vehicle. This person was wearing camouflage protective gear, but his face looked slightly sickly. However, his aura was strong. At first glance, he resembled a sharp sword, carrying an edge that gave off an invisible sense of pressure. Anran frowned and couldn't help but look a few more times. Pale and handsome, with a straight posture, he wore a Thunder Mercenary Group badge on his left chest. He was likely a minor leader within the Thunder Mercenary Group. She originally wanted to use the Eye of Investigation to check this person's attributes, but the distance between them exceeded 1 meter, making investigation impossible. Silence fell inside the vehicle. Finally, the man in the back seat spoke first. "Miss, is that a horn from a mutant beast on your backpack?" Anran hesitated for a moment, then nodded. "It seems so. It seems so." The young man coughed again, then continued. "That's the giant beast's horn, right? How did you get it off?" "I picked it up in the pond." Saying this, and Ran patted the broken end of the horn and explained seriously, "You can tell by the clean break here. How could I possibly have the ability to remove it from the giant beast?" "Are you joking? Even bullets couldn't pierce the giant beast's hide. Could she really break off a horn from it?" Ning Mei's mouth twitched upon hearing this. She lowered her head to her chest, avoiding the scrutinizing gaze of the people in the car. "Just keep bragging." The mercenary called Little Zhang couldn't stand it anymore and immediately interrupted, "Go pick up another one and show me now." This sharp horn was clearly a high-quality, low-pollution material glowing faintly. He drove around the camp every day in the armored vehicle. How come he had never encountered anything like it? "Why should I pick one up for you to see?" And Ran was provoked by his attitude and immediately retorted. Little Zhang was about to say more, but was stopped by a look from the young man in the back seat, and could only sullenly turn his head to look outside. The young man introduced himself. "Let's get acquainted first. My name is Gu Shaochuan, captain of the Thunder Mercenary Group's 5th Detachment. The one by the door is Zhang Yubao, my team member." Seeing how serious he was, Anran also introduced herself. "My name is Anran, and this is Ning Mei." Gu Shaochuan nodded. "I'm glad you returned safely. This operation was unexpected for us. Once we kill that giant beast, we will consider giving you compensation as appropriate." Anran did not want to comment on this matter, but she was very dissatisfied that he wanted to shirk responsibility with a simple, unexpected excuse. After thinking, she stopped pretending to have internal injuries, got up, and sat in the seat closer to Captain Gu, speaking seriously. "Captain Gu, since you brought up compensation, I want to know what exactly the compensation will be." Gu Shaochuan hadn't expected the girl to say this, and pondered silently for a moment. But after only a brief pause, he countered, "What do you want?" And Ran pulled Ning Mei, signaling her to come closer, and then said, "I want an energy gun and several high-grade energy blocks." This was a long-range weapon, exactly what she lacked. Even if it couldn't kill high-level strange beasts, it could make them hesitate for half a step. Zhang Yubao by the door immediately exclaimed, "You certainly know how to ask. High-grade energy blocks. Do you know how expensive those are?" And Ran widened her eyes. Can anything be more valuable than human lives? Besides, didn't Captain Gu himself ask me what compensation I wanted? I tell you, and you complain it's too expensive. What, are all our lives not worth an energy gun and a few energy blocks? Zhang Yubao was stunned by her reasoning and was speechless for a moment. Silence fell inside the carriage once again. After a long while, Gu Shaochuan finally spoke. "And Ran, the base has regulations. Civilian teams are not allowed to possess energy guns. Unless you join a mercenary group, I cannot authorize giving you what you want." Now it was Ran's turn to be speechless. Her thoughts switched back and forth between joining and not joining a mercenary group. In fact, she had initially considered joining a mercenary group, excluding the notorious Falcon Mercenary Group. But as she gained the ability to collect attribute values, her idea changed. Because mercenary group members must obey deployment, participate in various missions, not limited to scavenging, gathering, or searching for high-level strange flora. They also have to cooperate with guards to maintain public order, leaving no personal time. In comparison, being a free agent was more conducive to her own development. Thinking of this, Anran settled for a lesser request. "Since you say that, I won't ask for an energy gun. But medium to high-grade energy blocks shouldn't be controlled items, right?" As she spoke, she secretly threw an eye of investigation at Gu Shaochuan. Consuming 1 point of spirit, experience +10, investigating target attributes, Gu Shaochuan, bone age 25, constitution 35, strength 38, agility 31, spirit 42, 4th tier gold element talent, currently suffering moderate genetic damage. No wonder his aura was so strong. He was a 4th tier gold element user. But why was moderate genetic damage attached to the end? Gu Shaochuan seemed to sense something. His eyes suddenly locked onto Enran, and his expression instantly turned cold. "You have an investigation skill?" In that instant, Enran felt a chill run through her body, as if countless sharp golden rays were aimed directly at her glabella, her vital spot. She quickly shook her head and denied it. "No, I have a gathering ability." "My goodness, he's that sensitive. Or is it possible to be discovered if the target's spirit is higher than one's own?" Gu Shaoxuan glanced at Enran, withdrew his sharp aura, and seemed to believe her words. "Get out of the car. We've arrived at the infirmary," he said lightly, and then finally answered the previous question. "Medium to high-grade energy blocks are scarce. I can't give them to you. How about you propose a new request?" Enran and Ning Mei exchanged glances, and as if sharing a telepathic connection, they said in unison, "Then give us a vehicle. A second-hand off-road vehicle is fine, too." Gu Shaochuan's mouth twitched, and he frowned deeply. "Can you ask for something reasonable?" Enran, "You won't agree to this, and you won't agree to that. Why don't you tell us what you do have?"